book. So, hello, 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 my baby, hello, my darling,
Hello, my
hello, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you on the line today. Amazing programs ahead of us today because right now we have Frank Coppola on the line, and he is definitely ready to go. Ain't that right, Frank?
I am so ready that I started back then there.
That's good to
Not a
know.
problem. We're
That's
starting.
good to know.
Yeah, I usually start 1, 2, 3, 4, but I usually start at 7.
7. Okay, we
Yeah,
start at 7 today. We'll start at 7.
7, 8, 9.
Just want to remind everybody about the promotion that we have going. All right. So if you are watching right now, you need to go to phoenixnationalbusinessgroup.com and register your name in order to win $100, which is good for up to 5 people. And this promotion ends at the end of this month. So if you're watching right now and you are tuned in to this program, go to the website, register your name so that you can get a chance, $100. Also, and receive it as a gift from Phoenix National Business Group as an appreciation for watching the program, as well as if you retain the services of anyone within our network, that's including Frank Coppola that you are going to be seeing here today, and also Oscar Capel, who is with Legal Shield, you will receive $50 from Phoenix National Business Group as an appreciation as well for doing business with anyone that is within our network. And again, this offer is only good until the end of this month. So take advantage while you can. So we're going to step into it. Frank is an author and a speaker, mental health specialist, and he is going to be, we're talking on relationships, but he wrote a book on procrastination, which I believe is a huge part of what affects even our connection with one another. But I'm going to let him go into that, and we're going to interview him in a few minutes. So stay tuned as we introduce our speaker for today, Frank Coppola, our guest. Hey, Frank.
Hey, Philip, how are you? Hi, Oscar. What's going on, guys?
Hello, hello.
Hola.
Hola.
So, Frank, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about what you do for those people that have not seen or know what you do.
Okay, so I live in 2 different worlds. I am a board certified attention deficit disorder, attention hyperactivity disorder coach, as well as mentor. A coach is someone who works with somebody that asks questions that actually have the answers come from the person that you're asking the question. Mm-hmm. A mentor is somebody that works as a consultant. So they're there to really help you grow when you have questions. So that's one world I live in. The other world I live in is in a business world. I'm a business strategist, and I work in different ways to help people grow their business. So the ADD coaching group is a solution-based, knowledge-based, personal and business growth organization dedicated to the mission of serving individuals, families, entrepreneurs, executives, small business owners, and corporations. And in each world in business, as well as in attention deficit, we as human beings do not operate alone. We operate in relationship. And it's always very interesting because you hear this a great deal. Someone will say, so how you doing? you have a girlfriend or something? Oh, no, I got to get my life together before I actually, meet somebody. But the interesting thing about it is that you really cannot get your life together until you actually get in relationship. Because
Wow.
when you're in relationship, that's when all the issues that may come up. And if you have a good relationship with someone, the purpose is to really work through those issues that will come up. That person actually is a gift. That person is there to help you grow and to be able to expand your life and expand your purpose in life. So let me tell you a little bit about my attention deficit disorder and how I apply it now in business.
Mhm.
When I was growing up, I struggled with focus. And I was in somewhere in the neighborhood of about 12 different businesses of some sort or another, anywhere from the restaurant business to television commercials to the music business, because I am a singer-songwriter. I wrote for the Temptations, I wrote for Whitney Houston, as well as working in biotechnology and a lot of different things. And what I found out later is that I had attention deficit disorder, which is why I was all these businesses, because they were all very, very interesting. See, I don't believe people with ADD have issues with distraction. I believe that people with ADD are enormously creative, and the creativity is bursting at the seams. So they are continually to be very curious. Many of them are empathetic. Many of them have a tremendous amount of energy, and many of them succeed when they are actually working on the thing that gives them the most pleasure. We call those strengths. So the interesting thing about a strength, that when a person who has attention deficit is working in their strengths, let's say they love computers, and you would think, oh, I can't really stay concentrated. But when that person is actually working in computers, the signs, symptoms, behaviors, the tendencies of somebody with ADD completely disappear, completely. So given that I had issues with focus, I decided that I better learn to be an ADD coach so that I can help people, because I felt people were in a prison and they didn't even know they were in a prison, because that's the way I. So today I work with small business owners, entrepreneurs, to get them focused so that they increase their sales. I believe that small business owners are the lifeblood of every community. And I believe that is we, as entrepreneurs and small business owners and individuals as so, have responsibility to recreate the economy and take back control of that economy, whether it's COVID-19 or whether it's the government. And I am on a mission because it's going to take back the control of the economy. We're going to stimulate the economy and bring back jobs. And I believe that this group of people are also going to solve unemployment, because if one person who's unemployed was able to work with another company, unemployment would shrink dramatically. So my movement is called Small Business Owners We Rise Again Movement. We Rise Again is a song that I wrote actually for 9/11, but given that it's the pandemic, I've applied that to what's going on today. So I will go into a company and I will help them reconfigure their business so that they can get more business. And normally the way you do that is that you increase sales. So let me tell you a little bit about procrastination. Procrastination is, there's a term that they call the robber baron of time. It takes away time. What we find that the number one issue in business and in personal life in relationships is procrastination. So unless you're able to attend to that, it will jeopardize your relationships, whether business or on a personal level. Why do I say this? Well, think about it. How many people here have ever procrastinated?
Not only do I procrastinate, but I'm really good at it. I know, one of the things I have a question. I believe I have ADHD HD, which is high definition ADHD. I
Well,
mean,
you're very special.
so, knowing that I can't concentrate too long, and when you're talking, I realize that, like when we're doing these Zoom meetings, I can focus on what's going on. But if I'm supposed to read a book or something, I will be reading the same paragraph 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
The one thing that I don't know if you answered this question before, but do you think ADHD people and ADD people figure like they're the only ones with this problem, and they feel like, everyone else is normal, and I'm out in the woods, and you kind of like don't want to step up and say, yeah, I have this situation, this learning difference. How do I get help? Is there a stigmatism, to?
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me into your life. It takes a lot of courage to be able to say, I've got some issues that are going on with me, and it's affecting my life. The thing about focus, particularly around reading, I have the same issue. I can't really concentrate on books that I'm not interested in or articles I'm not interested in. If I'm interested in something, I'll read it. So again, we go back to that is something that I'm interested in. So I will, like, for example, I have an interest in spirituality, spiritual laws, like the 8 laws of the universe, the law of cause and effect, the law of polarity, these kinds of things. I can read a lot about that because I find that very interesting because it affects my life. So I would imagine, do you have anything that interests you that you could say, I could read this for about 15 minutes and I would be good?
Well, one of the things one of my coping mechanisms is audible books. Excellent. I will put an audible book on, and I'll have that on while I'm driving, taking a shower, gardening, doing whatever. I'm constantly learning, but I can't learn from reading because I just, and even when I put on an audiobook, I'll listen to it the first time, and then the second time I'll put it at speed 1.25, because reading at the same speed that the author wrote it, I find not boring, but just I'm like, come on, I've heard this before. Right. Tell me more. So that's how I cope with it. But so if it's something like, reading, we were talking earlier about quantum physics, and I'll read about that and just be totally immersed in that subject, and everything else goes black.
Right. So this is something that's very, very valuable. You've learned to say, reading in many ways is boring to me. So if it's boring, why would you do anything that's boring? That's crazy. But you be able to say, I'm an auditory person. You may not be aware of it. I'm an auditory person. I'd rather get a book and listen to it. So that, and maybe at the same time, if you were reading along with it, it would even double your ability to remember these things. But if you don't like to read, don't read, then just do this. The main thing is focusing on what you do well. So in this case is, I listen very well. Anything that you're not doing well, you don't want to put your attention there, because where you put your attention, it's going to grow. And what you're putting your attention to is something you're not very good at. So frustration will start about that. So I applaud you for finding another way to do that. See, I don't think there's anything wrong with ADD. I really don't think so. Because ADD is a biological neurological disorder that affects an area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for attention, hyperactivity, and direction. And in those particular situations, we want to understand, you know what, I got to really pay attention to the things that I do well. If anything, it takes a while for people to really understand what that means and to really get into it. And without understanding that, tremendous shame can come up. Like you're saying, I feel like I'm an outsider. The truth of the matter is, there are so many great individuals who have attention deficit disorder. There is an individual, Charles, I forget his last name, Charles Cirque, I believe his last name. He came up with the computer language called C, C++, and this is very, very high level stuff, right? And he was asked by a friend of mine who did some study of the major people in Silicon Valley. He said the number one thing that people will need to learn as they're moving in to the 21st century is to be able to think at different levels at different times. Well, that's an ADD person. And he said, you have to acquire the skill of someone who has attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, what I realize when I'm speaking to someone, I'll say, "Oh yeah, this makes sense because of that."
Yes.
And their linear thinking doesn't see it, where my ADD, ADHD is pulling in information from everywhere, and just I have basically a library that I'm like, yeah, I can make a connection just
Correct.
because I'm not focused on just that one thing.
I worked in advertising, and we would go into a room when it came to a storyboard. There may be 6 or 7 people. The majority of the people I dealt with in advertising had attention deficit disorder. So they would have maybe 6 or 7 different conversations going on, but everybody could follow it at the same time because they could pull from different places. That's called creativity. That's creating out of nothing because you're actually able to pull from different places. A lot of people can't do that. They just can't. Unless they're in their what we call a superpower, like an accountant, right?
Right.
An accountant can pull from what he knows about accounting. But I found that people with attention deficit, because they are so curious, can pull from these things. It's a great skill to have.
I was a dental technician for 38 years, and my strength was being able to fix things on the fly.
Really?
Something would go wrong. I'm like, all right, if we try this and this and put that together with that, this should work.
Yes.
And people go, how did you know that? I'm like, I didn't know it. I just figured it out now by working backwards from what I needed done and pull in this could work and that can work, and we would get it done. So I was always the MacGyver of the place, because it's like there was like, if Oscar can't fix it, we're screwed. Yes. was the old saying. Yes. But and that was a strength. I was at the library several years ago, and there was a tape series, an old cassette tape on ADD and ADHD. And that really started the difference in feeling like, okay, I'm not that nuts.
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, and one of the things the author said was, your ADHD brain disorder is not a disorder, it's just a different way to function. And you need to learn to work in that capacity, not try to fit in to what everyone else is doing. He says an ADHD brain is like a Ferrari with no brakes. You're going 1,000 miles an hour, but you're not stopping long enough to pay attention to, the road sign.
Yeah, you're a Ferrari stuck in a Volkswagen body.
Yes.
Because your brain is going, bop, 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 which is fantastic. So for those people who don't have attention deficit disorder, There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just I want to really emphasize that to have this particular, for lack of a better term, they call it a disorder, but actually attention deficit disorder has to do with motivation. Because when you are motivated, you don't procrastinate. They don't work together. So it could be called attention motivation disorder.
I like that better.
Yeah, it could be called attention executive function disorder. It could be called attention management disorder. Okay, so when you say attention motivation disorder, it shifts the whole thing. But remember, you cannot be motivated and be procrastinating at the same time. There is a formula to get to motivation. The formula is actually, I don't want to go through that because it gets a little complicated, but just think about motivation. When you're motivated towards, I'm going to go to the movies and I don't want to miss this. I don't want to miss this movie, right? You'll get there on time.
Mm-hmm.
You may, or you'll say, I'm going to be late. Let me call the person that I'm meeting, because you're going to see this movie no matter what. Okay. Just think of it that way. So I have a different way of thinking about procrastination. Again, procrastination is not, there's nothing wrong with it unless you can begin to understand what are the elements that one, or the distinction that one must understand about procrastination. So the first thing you need to understand is when you are procrastinating, it's usually because you're expecting something to take place. You have an idea. For example, I have to clean up my office, or I have to clean up this room that I've got. So that's an expectancy. That's something that you expect to take place. I'd like to do it in the next 4 hours. So there's time attached to it. But above all, you need to have a value for doing that. Like, why is it so important to clean the room? Well, it might be a good idea so I can find my clothes. Actually, what's under my clothes, which may be my shoes, which I can't find right now. So there's got to be value. Now, the other thing is, if you find yourself being unable to do all those things, you'll become impulsive. It's called impulsivity. When you hit impulsivity, you start, you may go up on the computer and start looking around for other things to do. That's procrastination. But when you have all those 4 elements in place, it produces motivation. Procrastination is something that consistently gets in the way of you focusing. So in order to focus, you need to say, what could I be doing here to make sure I'm going to get something done?
Do you suggest?
Usually, when you go into a room and you have to fix that room, for lack of a better term, what takes place is it triggers an earlier moment in your life, maybe when you were 6, 7 years old, and boom, that's what producing the procrastination. You turn around and you walk away because it's too painful in some way. There are a lot of fears attached with procrastination. So just understand and accept, you know what? This happens to me. I forget. It happens to me.
So what I'm looking at in procrastination is putting off something that you think is going to be painful. It's like, well, if I start this, then I have to do this. And you spiral down a rabbit hole of what ifs, and you don't even get started because you've already gone through a whole conversation in your head on why you shouldn't do it and you should take a nap rather than
the other part
this.
Yeah, the other part of it is, if I do this, I'm going to find out I'm very successful. And people may say, I don't want to be exposed at that level. I had a friend of mine who said, I don't want people to know I'm very good at this.
A fear of success coming in.
A fear of success, but he had a fear of somebody actually shooting him. So look at it. Martin Luther King, Kennedy, these people did not stop at what they wanted to do. His fear, in my opinion, was completely irrational, but for him, it was very rational. And he stayed out of the mainstream, and he's a brilliant guy. He created "the mind is a terrible thing to waste" in advertising.
Wow.
At Ford, quality is job one. I could just go through the whole thing. He's in the advertising hall of fame. That's how brilliant he was. But he wanted to keep, as he said, under the wire, because I don't really want people coming at me. Now that may be called procrastination. It may also be called, I have
self-preservation.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a motivation not to self-preservation, prevention is a very good idea, right? There's another way to think about procrastination. I call it adding perspective. What we're doing is adding perspective. I'm giving you another perspective on this thing called procrastination. Now, question. Philip, do you have any questions about when you may find yourself procrastinating or find yourself not being able to focus or any of those kinds of things? I'm kind of curious about that.
I never have those issues. Never procrastinated ever in my life. No, I'm messing with you.
And on top of that, he's a liar. So
well, I'll tell you, one of the things I never procrastinate is about eating. So far with the pandemic, I've gained 10 pounds. Always up there saying, you know what? It's 3 o'clock. I think I need to eat something just in case when 6 o'clock comes, I'll be very hungry, very crazy. But anyway, that's the other story. I'm sorry, Philip, I cut you off, please.
I mean, I think procrastination, all the things you talk about is really the building blocks of procrastination, because I think it's the unsurety of the future. I don't know what the future is going to hold. Maybe it's kind of risky for me. It's out of my safe space. So I'd rather put it off until tomorrow. I found that the things that are more challenging for me, I throw them at the back of the list, right? I mean, I have to call this big company to see if we can get a major sponsor or something. Let me put that at the back of the list until I build up the nerve to tackle it.
Right.
And if you never build up the nerve to tackle it, it gets lost in the dungeon of unbelief, right?
Yeah, right. So there are different types of people who procrastinate, and I'm going to read some of them, which comes from my book, Get Into Action: 8 Simple Steps to Overcome Procrastination.
Right, which is on the banner. Everybody sees that.
Contact me and not procrastinate, for gosh darn.
Do it now.
Do it now. Okay, so I'm just going to read from the book here. And you try to figure out which procrastinator you are. Types of procrastinators, to name just a few. There are foundationally 2 types of procrastinators: performance procrastination, as well as fear-based, who are filled with self-doubt and low self-esteem. We've called them dreamers, worriers, defiers, crisis makers, perfectionists, and or overdoers. Here are several types of procrastinators. Can you relate to any one of these, and perhaps the combination of several? First one, the perfectionist. No action is taken unless all is in place and is perfect.
That's not me.
Yeah. Then we have the what-ifer. Okay. Consumed by worry, their focus is on excuses to move forward. Well, I don't know if I want to do this because of blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Then we have Captain No. I love this. This is me. The type scrutinizes everything, finding what's wrong. They believe that by seeing what's wrong, they can control the outcome. They criticize an idea, as well as each person's attached to the idea. Their criticism eventually affects their behavior as they focus the problem rather than the possibilities or the solution. Now, for each one of these, I'm going to show you something when we get finished. I'm so excited, but maybe not today. That's another one.
Okay.
Start, stop, start. This type reacts to energy, power, and wow. They talk about what is going to be done. They live in the future. They'll spend enormous amounts of time talking or fantasizing about how fantastic the idea is. They may spend their time defending how great it is. Many times they will burn out or lose interest. They can be classified also as self-defeating.
Oh,
Next
wow.
one, I can see the whole thing. Their overview paralyzes them for taking any action. Perfection paralyzes progress. Another one, so many possibilities, but if I only had the money, the place, the right group of people, a clean home, office, as soon as it's all correct, then I'll be able to get it. This group also traits similar to the what-ifers. The Riddler, love this. All the pieces of the riddle are not in place. Once figured, they will then start to get the job done and complete it. The Riddler is similar to the perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
Enthusiastic and energetic. Are we okay with this? Can I continue with this?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
You continue with that. I'm going to Amazon and ordering the book as you're speaking, because
Okay.
I'm actually all of those.
Enthusiastic and energetic. Gives the impression of being a go-getter until the work actually begins. Finding fault. They cop out or taking action. They are usually the ones who complain. No one appreciates all their hard work. They can also be called the victim. The great pretender makes everyone believe they have the competence, experience, as well as the success with past events, puffing up their self-esteem until they actually have to do the work, then they don't. Take to the sheets, overwhelmed. They have so many things they need to get done, they cannot get moving. So there's this quote, the one thing that's good about procrastination is that you always have something planned for tomorrow. J.B. Stern. So if you look at this, now let's take another way of looking at this. If you are, let's say, Captain No, who scrutinizes everything and finds what's wrong, this is one of the great things you need to have if you are a producer in the world of television commercials. You're there ahead of time to think what could possibly go wrong on this shoot so that you can take steps to make sure it doesn't go wrong. So you could flip every one of these to the other side, because in everything, there's always two sides, negative, positive. And it's just the way that you look at it. It's just the way that you have a perspective of it will make you understand there's really nothing wrong with this, but it's also important to accept, you know what? I am a what-ifer. You know what? I do have Captain No. Mm-hmm. So that's out of the book. Unfortunately, I do not have this on Amazon, but if you contact me at the email, I'll make sure that you get one. I can order one and get it over to you. I'm waiting for a new to come in. So yeah, that's it, guys.
You know what? There's something that you just said though that is, I think, is key, and it would be amiss for us to leave without identifying it, and that is, you can't fix a problem unless you identify it.
That's right.
You can't. You have to admit, I have this problem.
Yes.
I need to fix this problem and then pursue that. But unless you are there, you'll continue.
Yeah.
You'll definitely continue in it.
Yeah. I like to use not the word problem.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the word issue or concern.
issue.
Problem is actually out of the Cartesian education model that every problem must have a solution. Many
Right.
times that's not necessarily. Every problem could have a lot of different solutions. It's all how you look at it. So again, what you're saying is correct.
Mhm.
For every problem, there needs to be a solution. I just call it issue or concern. To
Right.
take a little bit of the energy off of it.
I get you. So sometimes the word problem can even cause more anxiety towards procrastination.
Very good.
Got it.
That's very
Got
good.
it.
Change the vocabulary, a situation, anything,
Situation,
but don't that word problem already has a really bad and heavy connotation. So it's like, I have a problem, like, oh.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's
And
like
a
you give up
situation.
the
Oh, what
moment you
kind of
hear problem,
situation?
you give up. Like,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
it. I'm done.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah,
Time to
exactly.
move on. Let's get the ice cream. Get the Cherry Garcia. Hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, Frank, you're as always, you're always informative, and you always bring some good content to our programs. That's why we love having you here. That's why we love having you on. We can't wait for when we get on radio, because we'll definitely be hearing more of Frank and Oscar when we hit the radio waves online as well. So
And
That's
keep
good.
an eye out for that.
and also all the other great people that you've brought here.
Yes, of course.
Karen Mayos,
That's it.
Oscar,
That's it. Joel Jaro,
Yeah,
Jackeline. Yes.
Not for nothing, but
Ramona.
I can't wait for the radio days, because Frank and I have a great face for radio.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
I mean, I think you're more you, Oscar. We're aiming at you here. Yes. So
Remember the two guys that had the radio show out of Boston? That someone would call in and say, I have a problem with my clutch. And they would go and explain to them what's going on.
Oh, the car guys.
The car guys. So
really,
Oscar and I are going to have our own program. It's going to be tinged with comedy, and it's also going to solve problems.
Actually, it's going to be
issues
comedy
of concern.
tinged with solving something.
Yes.
You know what? I feel bad for everyone watching now that was not able to tune into the pre-game show that was not recorded, because that was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, Philip, thank you very much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate and believe in you.
Thank you.
What you're actually looking to accomplish here, which is happening, which is fantastic.
It's happening. It is happening, and I'm really just excited, and I'm just glad I'm able to provide this for my friends.
The other thing is, whoever, as an extra bonus, whoever purchases my book or contacts me for the book, I'll send you one or two of my songs, which are enormously inspiring. And I promise you, they will keep you out of procrastination.
Nice. I love that. All right. Now I want to order a book now. Again.
Okay.
Again, I'm going to order a book again. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to be back at 12 with our summit. We're going to have everybody on and just talk about all the different subjects we talked about for the last 2 weeks. So stay tuned, and we will see you in a few